What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, joined by my co hosts.
Relax 21. What's up?
I'm happy the Knicks have won two games of their back to backs that they've had this week, which to me, the Knicks needed to win these games. I think these are both two teams that the Knicks should have been beating. So the Knicks played the Detroit Pistons yesterday. The Knicks were able to pull off that win 112 to 118. Um, wasn't the prettiest win. I think a lot of true Knicks fans probably were watching that game wondering why didn't the Knicks blow out Detroit. I understand that Detroit's a team that you can't sleep on, but I just found it kind of weird that the Knicks allowed that game to be so close. I didn't really think that from what I saw, the defense wasn't that great. But the Knicks finished that game at field goal percentage wise against Detroit. They were at 46%. Uh, Detroit was at 53. The Knicks shot 16 for 41 from the 3-point line at 39%. Detroit was at 42%. Free throw percentages, the Knicks were at 71%. Detroit was at 64. The Knicks had a total of 41 rebounds. Detroit had 42. The Knicks had 12 offensive rebounds. Detroit had 8 defensive rebounds. The Knicks finished with 29. Detroit had 34. Assists, the Knicks had 25. Detroit had 22. Then both teams finished with 3 blocks. The Knicks did have 8 steals against Detroit, and they only had 4. The Knicks did only have 11 turnovers in that game, which I would say helped in the end somewhat, whereas Detroit had 20 turnovers. Then both teams finished with 44 points in the paint. But yeah, I just thought that game, I couldn't understand why the score was so close. Scoring wise, Julius Randle did finish with a double double. He did have 10 rebounds, 29 points, and 8 assists. RJ Barrett finished with 15 points. Mitch finished with 9 boards, 6 points. Jalen Brunson was a rock star. He had 42 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Um, Nothing from Grimes. He had a very quiet game, which is typical. Josh Hart finished with 7 boards, 7 points. DiVincenzo had 12 points, three rebounds, 2 assists. Emmanuel quickly actually had a quiet game against Detroit. He only had 5 points, 2 assists, and 1 rebound. And Isaiah Hartenstein had 3 boards, 2 points. Um, do you think there was a reason why the Knicks couldn't get past Detroit with a larger margin in points?
Well, to me, Detroit is they have a young core group of guys, and they fought to the end. Um, there was some collapse, like defensive collapse, somewhat with the Knicks. And again, I don't want to say they slept on them and they didn't take them serious, but like they said, any given night is anybody's game.
Yeah.
And the Knicks they gave they gave Detroit like some type of hope or possibility that they could possibly win this game.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to say they didn't take it serious, but they shouldn't have even given them that little glimpse of hope. They should have just finish them. You got to stay strong all 4 quarters. Yeah, it's hard to do because we're just spectators, but as a team, you can't do that with teams like Detroit or the Wizards and things like that. So I think it was just a little lapse and some miscommunication and things like that. But they got the win. But you know,
Yeah. It wasn't the prettiest one for sure for
no,
the Knicks. I was actually a little surprised to some degree just because the Knicks are a better team than they have been, um, you know, a few years ago. Um, so for me, I felt like, well, what's going on? Why are the Knicks allowing this to be such a close game? And I agree with what you just said. they did give Detroit some hope that they would be able to win their first game of November because they went winless throughout the month of November and they haven't won a game. And I think also looking back on that game, if the Knicks would have lost that game, that would have looked really bad on the Knicks because you would have allowed them to get that one win in the month of November, which absolutely shouldn't have happened. But Detroit, to me, I thought, Cunningham did his thing per usual. I thought he played a nice, well-rounded game. They had moments where they were running, but I mean, Brunson played a great game. I thought Brunson took over and took control. Did you feel like Brunson um, took control for the right reasoning, or did you feel like Brunson should have passed the ball, as some Knicks fans say?
Well, I mean, he got the players involved. I mean, he just had an on night. And Randall had 29 and on his 29th birthday. So, you know,
Right,
he got his touches. There was just some guys that were just off, like,
quickly.
Grimes, um, Quick, so Brunson, he just he's a different type of player.
Yeah,
His skill set. So no matter what, even if he's having an off night, he's gonna contribute in other ways. So he just, did what he had to do as the point guard. But other guys, he got them involved and they got their touches. So yeah, he did what he was supposed to do.
yeah, I agree. Are you concerned with or have any concerns rather with Emmanuel quickly being that against Detroit? He only had 5 points, and then tonight against Toronto, I think he only finished with 10 points. Um, and then I'll also say RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett did have 15 points against Detroit yesterday. But do you think RJ's, I don't know, lost his touch a little bit? Or is it just that he's out of rhythm? And same thing with Quickly.
I think that for the both of them, I mean, I think they're just out of rhythm. You know, as they go on, hopefully and especially in December because they're on I think a 15 game road trip and they only
Yeah.
have 3 home games, although they tend to play better on the road. So hopefully maybe that road trip will, ignite something, in them,
Yeah.
the both of them. So I mean I'm not concerned. It's just 2 games. You got to remember, RJ, he did have the migraines and it could be, we don't know. It could be slight, ill effects. He may still suffer from, not as severe. So it could
Right.
be that. Maybe once he gets that, if it's under control, but I'm not worried.
Yeah, I'm not worried either. I think if it becomes a pattern, then I'm gonna raise some concern for what's going on. And also
Yeah.
I'm not, especially with Quickly, because for the most part Quickly's been consistent. I think yesterday's game against Detroit was maybe his third game so far that he didn't have a great game. But otherwise than
Mhm.
that, he's playing the least amount of minutes and I mean, he's been doing what he needs to do as far as contributing. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, we'll take the W. It's about making each game count and the Knicks actually contending and getting the W. The Knicks did play a Friday night game this evening. They played Toronto Raptors. The Knicks won that game 106-119. I thought this game was definitely a different shift compared to the way they played Detroit, which is what I think fans would have wanted to see the Knicks play, with the way they play with their high energy and running game and sharing the
Yeah.
ball tonight versus Detroit. Um, with this win tonight, the Knicks are now 12-7, still sitting in the fifth in Eastern Conference, and Toronto's at 9-11. So I thought this game was a pretty good game overall. I looked at quarter by quarter scoring. I mean, the fourth quarter, the Knicks and Toronto did score 29 points each, but the third quarter is where the Knicks um, played a really nice quarter, which is surprising for the Knicks because we've discussed how a lot of times they come out with that lackluster energy in the third quarter. So, any takeaways from you from tonight's game against Toronto?
Man, it was for me, it was a lot of they controlled the tempo from out the gate. Yeah, that first quarter was like awesome. They pretty much, was in the driver's seat for the most part, but for the whole game. Toronto made their runs, but they responded, with the Knicks. Um, you know, they were active in the paint. Um, Great ball movement. They had like 32 assists they finished with. Um, Nice man coverage. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Dante, man, DiVincenzo and Hart. Hart was resurrected, so
Yeah,
great bench contribution overall. They didn't force shots. Um, and six Knicks were in double figures. So, they pretty much were in the driver's seat, throughout the whole game. Like I said, Toronto did try to, make a run and push, but the Knicks were able to respond, kept their composure, didn't, get flustered and a lot of turnovers overall. But they were in the driver's seat. So nice. It was yeah, that was a nice collective team win, overall. Yeah, but yeah,
yeah,
Dante, yeah, makes case to start. Yeah, and Grimes again, he struggled again. Another game where yeah, yeah, Spike Lee. Yeah, he was at the game. Yeah, Spike Lee was at the game with his little Brunson vest. But Grimes overall, he's still he had 4 points, in 21 minutes, you
yeah.
know. Yeah, and Hart, yeah, he scored 15 consecutive points. But overall, I mean, if they could, hopefully this would be a carryover for Tuesday, for the end season because they do play Milwaukee. Um, I think they can take them.
But what for you was the difference maker in tonight's game compared to how the Knicks have played in previous games? Like, what made tonight's game different? Like, what did you see that was a difference maker that the Knicks were in particular doing, whether it was on the offensive end or the defensive end, that made this a really nice, solid win from the Knicks?
I would offensively again, Josh Hart. I mean, he there was some things where he was saying about how his style of play.
Hmm.
Um, he seemed to was got involved in the offense because he felt, out of place and out of rhythm. So I think by him, being more involved, active, he has some rebounds. And overall, even defensively, you know, uh, Brunson, taking the charges, sacrificing his body. Randall didn't force it. He 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 was one shy of a triple double. So again, he was sharing the ball. He didn't force it. Um, so both defensively and offensively, but for me, the difference maker that really stood out was like Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Outside of DiVincenzo, he played within the flow of the game. He didn't force things. So that was huge for the Knicks.
Yeah, I thought the Knicks did a lot of what we've been saying we want to see from the Knicks, which is moving without the ball. Um, I thought, I know Ebony had brought this up on the Doso Sports Talk, and she was saying how the Knicks don't have a lot of guys who cut to the basket. And
No,
I thought in tonight's games, a lot of guys were moving towards the basket, cutting towards the basket. I thought the court vision was there also, especially with guys like Randall. Randall's usually not the best passer. Um, and a lot of times I think when he does make his passes out, they're like bailout passes because a guy will make it. But I
yeah,
thought Randall did a good job with his decision making on the passes that he was making, and passing it out to guys. But I thought that both Josh Hart and DiVincenzo played a well-rounded game overall. And those are the two guys, along with Quickly, who I've been continuously saying that those are the other two, three guys that the Knicks need to step up on a night in, night out basis to be able to contribute to the game offensively and defensively. So I thought those guys stepping up really helped out. I also thought that the Knicks were making their shots. They were
Yeah.
they were active on the defensive end, especially Mitchell Robinson. He had a nice few couple of steals. From what I saw, that he was just, his hands were up. This season, Mitch hands are actually up. He's ready to actually before he didn't really have his hands up on defense. He just kind of had his hands down, and he would only get his hands ready to go up when he was ready to go for a block. But Mitch had a few nice blocks. I thought Josh Hart with a nice few couple of blocks. And I also saw when Josh Hart was driving to the basket and taking it to the lane, he was controlled. Whereas compared to last season, he was either going too fast or he was losing the ball at the last
Yeah.
second, and it was going out of bounds. And he was looking at the refs, kind of complaining that he got fouled. But it wasn't that anybody fouled him, it was just him going too fast for his own good. So I thought that between, again, Julius Randle finished with 20 points, 10 boards, 9 assists. RJ finished with 15 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. Mitch had 5 boards, 6 points. Jalen Brunson finished with 22 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Quentin Grimes had 4 points. Josh Hart had a nice game. He finished another game where he scored 17 points. He had 8 rebounds, 2 assists. DiVincenzo had 21 points. That's like huge for the Knicks. 21 points. It quickly finished with 10 points. And Isaiah Hartenstein had 8 rebounds and 4 points. So
And to
I,
piggyback off of, I'm sorry, Mitch had 4 steals, so,
yeah,
that's huge. And, and DiVincenzo, he was 7 for 10, um, for from the arc. So, that's huge,
yeah.
Um, so again, just being active.
Now, do you think that DiVincenzo should be starting over Grimes though? Because
Yeah.
we've seen at least 2, 3 games now where DiVincenzo, because to me, I feel like DiVincenzo could give you the same thing Quickly's giving you. He doesn't need a ton of minutes, but he can go out there and score and produce.
Yeah.
I just think that it's one of those things where Tibbs, I don't know what it is that he thinks that Grimes is this amazing defender, which Grimes is a good defender, but I just think that why are we waiting and allowing somebody without the experience to start versus having a guy who has the better basketball IQ, not just the 3-point shot, but the better basketball IQ, and somebody with more experience who comes from championship teams to start versus having Grimes come off the bench makes no sense to me. But I think that Grimes should be starting over Grimes. I mean, DiVincenzo should be starting over Grimes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, Grimes, he's struggling, but whatever. And this is what what we're into about game 20, he's really struggling. I truly believe, yeah, I'm all for it. I feel the same way that DiVincenzo, you know, should be starting. Yeah, and hopefully, Josh, will this is a leap for him, you know?
I mean, it has to be because I agree with a lot of fans. Like the Knicks did pay Josh Hart, and to me, it's kind of like a spit in the face if you guys paid him the money, but didn't even offer Quickly the money. Another thing that I have a big question mark about with the Knicks. But to me, I really think that the Tibbs really needs to switch up that rotation with Grimes and put Dante DiVincenzo to start. Because he's not even really finishing with Grimes. But what difference does it make whether you're starting him or finishing him? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I just truly think that Tibbs needs to get a grip and don't wait too late in the season. And I would say start. Do you think he should be starting DiVincenzo, or do you think it should be Josh Hart?
I would go with DiVincenzo and let Josh come as a power forward like he comes come in for Randall. So me, I would go with DiVincenzo, see how that worked.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that DiVincenzo could give us that push, as a starter. And then have Josh Hart, come in after Randall. So I would go with that lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it should definitely be um DiVincenzo starting. I don't know why we're still Tibbs is still, I'm not gonna say where because most of us fans don't want it to be this way, but why Tibbs is still going with Grimes, and Grimes is not really producing. Grimes literally played 21 minutes and gave you 4 points, 2 assists. He did have two nice assists. I think one of them was to Mitchell Robinson. I don't remember who the other
Mhm.
one was against. But DiVincenzo, remember we said this. We were going to be watching the minutes versus Grimes and DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo played 22 minutes and scored 21 points.
Yeah,
So
something point a minute.
yeah, you got to look at that and go, okay, well, you got to make a change here. I really think Grimes is just not ready. I mean, I know Steph was saying, "Oh, Grimes is where he needs to be. It's his second year, but he's not where we need him to be. He's where he needs to be, but he's not where the team needs him to be." And there's a difference when it comes to, I mean, the Knicks right now, we're not in a rebuilding stage. We're trying to get to a championship. And you're not going to get to a championship when you're leaving guys like Grimes out on the floor starting when you have other guys who can produce and give you what you're looking for.
Yeah, as I say, defense wins games, but offense wins championships. So he's not producing offensively. So
Yeah, I agree. Knicks are nice. The offense does flow better with DiVincenzo. It's funny how the Villanova Nova boys, they have a nice flow. Something
yeah,
about when you watch Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, Brunson, they have this up tempo pace that they play, and quickly too. Even though he didn't, but quick, they have this like energy, this pace, and that I think the Knicks lack that like high energy. The Knicks, they're typically a very slow team, and a lot of times if you look at Brunson when he's trying to bring the ball up the court, he don't have anybody ready to go up the court with him except when we had like Obi was always ready. I used to love that about Obi. He would get down that court immediately and you was able to lob him the ball and throw a football pass down the court and he was ready to dunk. You'll see Quickly's ready to get down the court. And Josh Hart too, he does that really well. But something about the Villanova boys, they play they with this high energy, they like to run. And I think that can be very contagious to get other guys to want to get down the court and don't allow teams to set up their defense.
well, I think that comes from just their experience in playing together in college and winning two championships. So, and I think that's salute, and I think that comes from just overall knowing each other, the game, your spot. Because Brunson, he passes a lot to DiVincenzo because he know he can count on him
To
to
make that
make
shot.
it, to make
But
that shot. So
but
I
that
think
goes to the
that's a
point of
trust factor.
exactly, but that goes to the point of what we were saying where I don't think whether it's Brunson, Randall, RJ, quickly, I don't think they're comfortable. Like, some of the Knicks fans will be in the chat and say, oh, well, Grimes isn't getting the ball enough. I don't think it's that Grimes isn't getting the ball enough. I just think that other guys on the Knicks team are not confident Grimes is going to hit the shot. No, seriously, I just think that they're not
Could
confident.
be.
Whereas if it's like DiVincenzo or Josh Hart, if I'm playing with them and I'm their teammate, I'm like, I don't mind passing you the ball because I know you're gonna be able to make that knock down that shot. But with Grimes, it's 50-50. You're not really, it's a toss up. You don't know if he's gonna make it. You know, it's a 50% chance he's gonna make it. It's a 50% chance that he's not gonna make the shot. So I think that, that's part of the issue why he doesn't get the touches that he wants to be able to get because you don't know if he's going to knock down the shot that you're looking for him to make. Um, Scotty Barnes is really good and he got better.
Yeah,
He
well,
had
the
20.
Raptors they're looking for him to make that leap. They pushing him and pushing, but he's not there yet, and he's only gonna to me he's gonna get better. And
Agreed.
um, they want him to be that guy, and he'll get there.
Yeah.
Um, and Spicy P. That's what I call. That's what somebody call Pascal. He's phenomenal.
He had a pretty great game also. He finished with
Yeah.
21 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Scotty Barnes
Yeah.
finished with 29 points, 9 boards, 4 assists. Jacob Poletti finished with a double double. He had 12 boards, 12 points. Dennis Schroeder had 10 boards. He almost had a double double too. He had 9 assists. OG Ananobi finished with 9 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds. Chris Botcher finished with 11 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. And Precious finished with 6 boards, 8 points. So they had a pretty overall well-rounded like scoring from their guys, which is something that the Knicks have to work on doing. Which tonight was a game where the Knicks actually had like good overall scoring from the guys. Minus, I'm not even gonna count Mitch because we know Mitch is not. He only has 6 points, 5 boards, but um, Grimes and surprisingly quickly, who only had 10 points.
Yeah,
Um,
but as far as the stats, field goal percentage, the Knicks were at 50% and Toronto was at 44%. 3-point percent, the Knicks were at 44. They were 16 for 36, and Toronto was 19. So that was huge for the Knicks.
yeah,
Toronto was 6 for 32. Free throws, the Knicks were at 81%. They were 13 for 16. Toronto was 71%. Turnovers, they both had 12 assists. Oh no, the Knicks had 30, Toronto had 32. Um, Rebounds, the Knicks were at 43, um, with 11 offensive rebounds, and Toronto was at 48. They did get a lot of second and third chance. Toronto was like they were really battling in the paint. So they got a lot of second and third chance effort. So that's how they were able to beat them at the boards. So they were at 48% with 19 offensive rebounds. Blocks, Knicks had 3, Toronto had 6. Steals, the Knicks had 6, and Toronto had 7. And personal fouls, the Knicks were at 15. Toronto was at 19. Um, so overall, the Knicks, they had advantages as far as the free throws, but the rebound, Toronto like kind of out battled us, the Knicks,
they didn't
down
kind of,
low.
they did out battle them because in the first quarter alone, Toronto only held Mitch and Randall to 1 rebound.
Yeah. Hmm.
How you only got 1 rebound? Because
Yeah.
my thing is now, what you gonna do when you play Milwaukee? You think Giannis and Brook Lopez is not gonna get off their feet and grab a rebound?
Yeah. So yeah, but Real, he did count. He woke up. He was, he did have a double double, and in the rebounds he had what I think it was 10 or something.
Yeah,
So he kind of you know got it together. But Toronto, you got to realize that's their same core group of guys, with the exception of which Coloco he was out. So, those guys been playing, for some years. So they have, not that the Knicks don't, they do have a chemistry there. Um, but they're just so streaky. Like I said, they win two, lose two, win one, so th- they gotta, that's another thing, they gotta, figure it out, as well, so they can, put together some win streaks. But overall, it was a like somebody in the chat, that was a nice win, for the Knicks. Because they can beat Milwaukee. What was that? Beat them the other day. What was that? Chicago. Um, in that overtime game, was that Milwaukee and Chicago game
I have to
where
check.
Caruso hit that three?
I think so. I have to check.
Yeah, so I mean, the Knicks could, and although Toronto, when we speak of 500 teams, but we want teams like Milwaukee, and because when they go out on the road, a lot of those road games is out west, so they will run up against um Sacramento, Dallas. These are the teams that they're gonna meet again, and they haven't even played Dallas yet. And no, they didn't play Sacramento. So this is a test, and this
Yeah.
was a nice win for them to carry over, for that road trip.
Yeah, especially because the Knicks usually can't get the job done against Toronto. Usually we fall short. But kudos to the Knicks. Defensively did a better job because usually Pascal usually has a great
Monster game.
scoring game
Yeah.
against the Knicks, and the Knicks,
Hmm.
kept him under control. Um, but I think the Knicks definitely, you mentioned how they're a group of guys who've been together, for some time now. Honestly, with the way the Knicks played yesterday, I think that, I mean, excuse me, the way the Knicks played last year, I'm looking for you guys to look like you've been together for a couple of years too, because you have to just come together and gel and bring that cohesiveness together as a team to be able to bring that moving forward. And I think that this month of December is going to truly be a test to see, like, are the Knicks a for real team? You know what I mean? Like, can the Knicks keep themselves in that fifth seed, maybe sixth seed, or are the Knicks, I don't want to say they're going to give up, but I think this month is truly going to be a test, especially when the Knicks go against those, like you said, a lot of those better teams, because the Knicks haven't really faced, yeah, they've had a tough start of their season, their schedule so far this season, but they haven't played OKC yet. You haven't played Denver yet.
Yep.
You haven't played those better matchup teams that, they're gonna come in and rip you a new one. So I think that it's gonna be a true test to see how the Knicks do, how they're able to overcome on a lot of these road games. And I don't care if it's on the road. You should still be able to beat teams in their own home. Teams don't have no problems coming to Madison Square Garden and beating the Knicks on their own home court. So I shout out to the Knicks for winning both games. I think this is, huge wins for them. And I really hope that the Knicks could be able to go in with the same energy that they did against Toronto tonight, against Milwaukee. The same way that the Knicks played them tonight, the Knicks need to do that against Milwaukee. And I would even say turn up the defense even more. So the Knicks have to come out, and, it would be nice if the Knicks could take that with the in-season tournament. But what are your takeaways for Tuesday's game?
Well, again, the way they played tonight, is a testament of what they're capable of doing. Um, you know, and on a side note, last year around this time, the Knicks were at 10 and 12. So they are improving. Same time last year, they were sitting in the standings 10 and 12. So again, they are getting better. but for Milwaukee again, perimeter, guard that. Um, your rebounding, of course, is key. Um, control the tempo. We know Giannis. He got a few things, under his belt. He has the Euro. He's gonna score. Dane, he's coming alive.
Yeah.
Um, Giannis is gonna get to the basket, so you want to definitely try to, limit his touches, which is, nearly impossible because let's face it, he's one of the best in the league. He's up there with Nicola. But I mean, for the most part, just your turnovers, which they did great in the first quarter of today's game. They
Yeah.
had, I think, like
Protecting the
one or
ball.
something. So again, just try to minimize your turnovers and control it from out the gate, from the tip.
Yeah, I agree. The Bulls did beat the Bucks yesterday, 113 to 120. Um, the Bucks do play tomorrow at 8 o'clock. They play Atlanta. So while the Knicks get to rest, the Bucks do have a game tomorrow. But again, the next game is not till Tuesday. Um, and then most teams have off next week because of the in-season tournament. It's pretty much all of next week. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Milwaukee does tomorrow when they do play Atlanta, um, and how that's going to go for them. But it doesn't matter. They'll be ready for Tuesday. It's a professional league. You have to be ready for whatever opponent, ever many games you play back to back. But we're going to definitely dive deeper into like our takeaways, who's doing what on Milwaukee so far for this season, and and also I'll have a breakdown of like how they've done so far in the in season tournament. Um, and it's funny too because Randall was initially for tonight's game, he was questionable because of like a um,
Yeah,
slight knee injury. So the fact that Randall played, which I'm not surprised because Randall's really strong and he doesn't miss his games. He's a
yeah.
workhorse. So thank God Randall was in. Do you think that the Knicks would have won against Toronto tonight if Randall didn't play?
Um,
Or do you think
to
it would
be
have been
honest
a
with you,
close
I don't
game?
think. What was that?
I said, or do you think that it would have been a close game
It would have
if
been a close
Randall?
game, and possibly I really don't think they would have won. I mean, that's just my, take on it. He was huge for us, for the Knicks tonight. So
Yeah.
I don't think that they would have won, to be honest with you. No.
Yeah, I thought Randall was definitely the difference maker. Like Josh Hart contributed in the third really well, but I thought because Randall played unselfish ball and he passed to guys at the right time, he drove, he got nice rebounds and helped out on the boards because Mitch didn't have that many boards.
Yeah, no,
It
he
was
didn't.
really Randall, Hart, and Hartenstein were helping out
Yeah.
on the boards. Hartenstein
Mhm.
did a lot of like the little things that's not going to show up on the stat sheets
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he did. He played a nice game tonight, and that's what you need from him. Like if Mitch is not having the best night, I'm looking for Hartenstein to step in and be able to contribute towards the game. Eddie said RJ was out to impress the home crowd, and that made
Yeah.
him nervous. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm surprised because the last two back-to-back games, RJ has only scored 15 points.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had 15 against Detroit, and he had 15 against Toronto tonight.
But I'm not worried about RJ. I think, it could be, a multitude of things, a few things of why, his scoring, is down. I think that's one player that will bounce back.
Yeah, for sure. No, RJ is definitely going to be able to bounce back. I agree with that. Um, good that on an evening that Brunson did not get 40, Dante got 21 and Hart got 17. This shows that there were many facilitations by a point guard. Yeah. I thought,
Mhm.
overall though, I thought many Knicks players were passing the ball and facilitating the ball well. A lot of guys played unselfish ball. And I think when the
Yeah,
Knicks do that, I don't think when the Knicks do that and share the ball and make that extra pass collectively, the Knicks are a lot more successful. And on top of that, making the shots, the Knicks were actually knocking down the baskets. But the Knicks seem to not be settling as much for the 3-point shots and they're taking it in, or guys are like, instead of forcing it, they're playing unselfish ball and they're passing a ball out, which is
yeah,
needed.
yeah.
And when the
That's
Knicks do
key.
that, they're a lot more successful. We may have to tighten our internal defense. Absolutely. Yeah. The Knicks are still missing those one or two key pieces. I don't know if you saw DeRozan has the Knicks or Miami as his possible teams he like to go to. You think the Knicks are gonna go after him? Do the Knicks
Mm,
even have it to go after DeRozan? And then if they do, who do you get? Who do the Knicks give away to get DeRozan?
yeah, exactly.
Because the
Yeah,
problem is a lot of teams are interested in taking certain guys on the Knicks, but the problem is they want all the goodies that we have. They want Quickly, Randall, they want RJ, and the Knicks are left with like nothing. So the Knicks are like, no.
no, I think that they should, although we do need bigs, but I think that they should just ride with these guys, with the exception. There's a few we're not gonna get into. Um, but for me, I think they need to ride with them for now, because the true test, they haven't even, ran into a true test because they haven't beaten any, or played any 500, teams.
Yeah.
They won against, teams that are under 500. So that's not a real test right there. So you don't know what they can do, until they run up across those elite teams.
But you
So,
saying ride with them for now, but is this sustainable? Like I think, well, you know what? No, I'm gonna agree with you. So we'll see at the end of this month, and then I'm gonna ask you this question again because I still think the Knicks do need to get a solid big, and we still need another like wing shooting guard. We need somebody who can contribute, you know, if let's just say one of our top three guys are, not performing. If RJ's having a bad night, Brunson's having a bad, Randall maybe having a, you need somebody else who's going to step up. And the Knicks don't really have that. Sure, we have Quickly who's being consistent. He's coming off the bench. You have DiVincenzo coming off the bench. But sometimes, DiVincenzo's not even getting a burn like that because Tibbs is in love with his son, Grimes. And, you know, he
Scooter.
uh he gets all the burn. We shot consistently, yeah. But see, that's the key. The Knicks can move the ball and cut without the ball all they want. It's are the Knicks making the shots that they need to be making. That's the key. The Knicks need to knock down shots and prove that they're actually a team that can hit shots. Otherwise, teams are going to leave the Knicks open all they want.
Yeah.
Mitch must learn to defend the baseline. They got many easy baskets. Yeah. I think Mitch is not mobile enough. That's the problem. Some guys are just too fast and too quick and their footwork is a lot quicker. And Mitch is like JJ on the Liberty. They not quick.
Yeah, no, 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 he's not. He's just strong.
Yeah,
But otherwise, quick, and if you're looking for, you know, for him to be that, he's not that
he's not.
guy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Ebony was saying she would like to see Tibbs run the offense like Sandy Brondello does with the Liberty. And Steph was like, Ebony, she was like, you gotta hear what she's saying, which is true. And I agree with I agree with Steph. She said you gotta realize the difference with the New York Liberty is that they had shooters. Everybody on that team could create for their own. She said with the Knicks, it's not the same equation, which is true. Then she gonna, she the Mitch's attorney. Oh, she going on and on about Mitch. I said, but I said JJ, because she said, oh, the Liberty feed JJ the ball. I said, yeah, but JJ has a post presence. That's why. JJ is a down low post player. She also could shoot the three. She also could hit a mid range shot.
Yeah,
Mitch can't give
which
you that. So you asking for something. I said, put it on your wish list for Santa. That's what you got to do, Ebony. If you when you see this, just put it on
shout
your
out
wish
to
list.
Ebony.
Yeah, shout out to Ebony. But our play is still predictable. When Brunson gets the ball, he passes to Randall, who hesitates and delays in making a decision. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, Randall, he does that quite often, and I forgot what quarter he re- he got the ball, and the lane was so wide open. The lane was so wide open, and he got a charge. I'm like, he couldn't believe that the lane was open for him. I'm like, and then pressure. No, what's the name? It wasn't a Chua. What's that dude? The other player. He when he took a charge, he was like this, like use your brains, like dude, you just got a charge. Or like the lane was so open, Randall couldn't even believe it, and
right,
he ran it. He
right.
took a charge. I'm like, come on, Randall, play smarter than that, really.
But why do you think Randall gets those charges? Do you think it's because he's not a good Randall doesn't know how to drive into the lane well, like footwork and handle wise, like how Brunson or Quickly can do it in a lot smoother way? Or do you just think it's because, oh, it's his strength and he's just, and it's part of what you just said. He's not used to like when the lanes are open for him, he can just go inside and do his thing. Or do you think it's the lack of, some of it comes from the lack of play making skills?
Well, I think it's all because it's strength. He is stronger, so he don't have the footwork to stop on a dime and like dish it out. So that the footwork is as far as with that, what the lane is too too wide open for him. I'm just pitching that in my head now. It was
But
just
I've
so
seen
funny.
him do that last year. Like,
Yeah,
a little, maybe a handful of times where Randall's drove in the lane and it was open and he got the charge. And I'm like, dang, like, you know, it's funny because you could watch LeBron do that, and LeBron is just as strong as Randall, you know? But
it was.
somehow he knows how to control when he's driving
Yeah.
to the basket. And I don't think Randall has good control like that when he's driving to the basket, which sucks. But I agree. I think some of it with Randall, I still go back to last year when we played against Miami. Before Randall got hurt, I was like, yo, Randall don't have good ball handling skills. He couldn't
No.
create for himself one on one. I said, wow, this guy has to work on, his ball handling skills because the only two guys to me that were creating for their own was RJ and Brunson. They were able to like get into the lane or
Mhm.
create their own so they could get the layup and whether they got the contact and the foul or not. But Randall really struggled with that. You're not going to tell me Band was playing an amazing he was playing good defense, but that wasn't it. And I noticed even with this season, he still struggles with that, being able to create for his own. Randall's better when he does well when, if let's say like he goes for the easy layup and maybe he misses it. He's great at getting off of his feet quick, grabbing that rebound. He does a nice hesitation. He may do it twice and then put it back up and he could get the
Mhm.
easy layup in, or he'll get the foul. Or he's good at playing bully ball and easing his way in, or he'll do a little hezzy, a little shoulder action, and then he's able to fade away and get the shot in. But otherwise than that, he needs to work on that because, like you said, when we play those better teams, those over 500 teams, he's going to get exposed. So I'm going to be watching out for that too because I want to see how he does. He's still able to score. That's not the problem. But I think that the playoffs is a different animal. Teams
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
the level up. So it's like, what are you going to do when that time comes? Grimes must polish up shooting. Yeah, you think Grimes should go to the G League?
Oh, for
Maybe.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I you know what? We haven't talked about Grimes going to the G League. That's a good point. Maybe he should. Maybe they need to Grimes on the bench. I'm not saying give him the Fournier treatment, but maybe try Toppin's brother. Maybe try Jacob and see what
No,
he can do out there.
and he needs to go to the G League, work on his shooting and his confidence while he's there. Um, and I guarantee he'll come back a different player. He'll have a different outlook on his shooting because he's struggling.
Yeah.
I think either they're gonna do that, send him to the G League, or they're gonna have him come off the bench. You
You think
know,
that's gonna happen before All-Star break?
if he continues to struggle, yeah,
Yeah.
let's hope, especially if he's still struggling.
Yeah, yeah, we were saying that, Eddie. Dante definitely needs to start. Dante needs to have that starting position. And you know what I think it is too, why that would help Grimes? Sometimes when you on the bench, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you could be able to take a look at the games played and see the movement of where your team is moving and where you can implement your game into the
Hmm.
offense and on the defensive end. And with Grimes, it's not so much defense because we know what he can do. But I think offensively, you got to be able to read the game and be able to see, like, oh, okay, I see where, these guys move over here. When they run this play, they doing this. I could fit myself over here. And, you can't blame it all on Tibbs and say, well, Tibbs is telling him to only do this. You're getting the looks.
Like,
He's
yeah,
getting the
yeah.
looks. As part of it is that he's just not knocking down his shots. And I think, like you were saying a few episodes ago, I think it's also his confidence. I
Oh, for
think
sure.
Grimes is not as confident, maybe because the shots aren't going down, you
Hmm.
know? But yeah, I agree. I think Grimes should possibly maybe go to the G League, get a little bit more, and get on the bench. I think he does. He needs to see how somebody like Dante DiVincenzo was playing, and he's able to just play with a nice flow to the game versus Grimes. It's not I don't know. It's just not the same style of play and it slows us down. But yeah. Anything else from you before we get out of here?
No, I'm just, I'm hoping Tuesday they can advance because after all, it's a single elimination.
Yeah,
So
it
there's no
is.
do-overs. Just play your style of ball, come out, control the tempo, and yeah.
Yeah, most people don't have the Knicks advancing. So people are already saying it's gonna be Lakers, Milwaukee. No, Boston and Milwaukee. Like the next round after,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
semifinals. So people are definitely not counting the Knicks. I feel like the Pacers fans have more confidence in them than they do than people have with the Knicks. But you never know. It may be a nice shakeup in the in season tournament, to who wins. It may be some shockers. I know a lot of NBA fans, period, were just saying like they want to see the games um not be a blowout. Like they want to see it be competitive. So it makes it interesting. But yeah, um, that's it for me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. for watching. Shout out to the chat for everybody chiming in. Nick's a nice, Eddie, Kareem Grant. We appreciate everybody chiming in and watching us. We will be back over the weekend to do a show to break down the in-season tournament for the next upcoming game against Milwaukee, and what are we going to be looking for in that game on Tuesday, which is the NBA in-season tournament is a single elimination game, so that should be very interesting. But as always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, even after the videos, the replay gang. Um, and yeah, that's it for us today. And we out of here. Thank you for
Tell a friend.
watching today. All right. Tell your cousins. Alrighty. We out of here.
Peace.